Yo, we are back again. Two in one day?
I know. We're doing these full days here. So today we're going to be definitely telling the truth right out the gate. Control is the enemy of intimacy. And I don't mean boundaries, I mean control. The minute you try to manage someone's desire, you kill it. If your relationship is built on do what I want or you don't get access, that's not intimacy, it's compliance. And if your relationship is built on say the right words and I'll reward you, that's not love, that's training. So tonight we're going to be taking the idea that you are cannot negotiate attraction, right? Cannot negotiate desire. I'm going to say that again. You can't coerce desire and you can't build closeness through leverage. So we are bringing on a special guest, French OG, and if you have seen him on Twitter, you need to follow him. You need to go follow him. He's got some really cool takes. He is going to be really talking about things that are going to hit the nerve, right? People have been arguing about frame and not as an internal sovereignty, but like it's a tactic to control outcomes. So let's do this. Let's bring on French. What's up,
Yo, what
French?
up, French?
Oh, what up? Well, hello everyone. Thanks for inviting me.
What up, OG, triple OG?
Well, actually, let me clear things out. OG is just my initials. It happens to be also OG, but people.
G, I like it. G. That's good enough.
All
So
right, G.
today's episode is control is the enemy of intimacy. And I really want to get into this. Like I know me and you have gone back and forth with a few tweets on this. So I want to like once and for all, we're going to be hitting this. There's some people that are really waiting to hear this episode. What do you tell me what you think on our tweets, our exchange? What do you give the audience that hasn't seen the tweets what it was about?
Well, like also before that, let me just like make a disclaimer though, real quick. Um, like there's a difference between being in control and controlling, right? And I think we would all agree that women love a man that's in control. They don't love a man that's a controlling man, right? There's a difference. Like a man that's in control knows that what he's in control of. A controlling man is trying to dominate or domineer, impose their will on other people from more of a place of insecurity rather than a place of security with who they are, right? Like that scarcity mindset comes with controlling. But would you
Yeah, a
agree
lot of
with
people
that?
hear yeah, because they hear control and then they think strength, right? But control is often just fear warning a tough guy. He's wearing a tough guy costume. Hmm.
I mean, also, if you think about it, only it's like what's the difference between controlling? Controlling is or unwillingness to follow, so it becomes controlling. So if like there are girls, for example, that really want to have a guy that is hands-on, no pun intended, right? And some girls need to have like that breathing room, that breathing space. So it can be very confusing because the scope of controlling and control, it can be very varied. So it can very much blur the vision, and it'd be good to kind of like have levels of how do you say to see it. But at the end of the day, what is control is because you're not comfortable in uncertainty, and in order for you to have frame, it is a person within a relationship or whether within a couple, the person who is most comfortable with uncertainty as the frame, therefore doesn't need the control, but appears in control.
Yeah, like the way I look at it is like like I'm in control of who I choose to be in a relationship with, right? Like this is my framework. If you live in my frame, then we can have a relationship. If you step outside of my frame, we're not in a relationship. It's that simple. Like I'm not trying to impose my will on you. I'm giving you the boundaries here of how to operate in, and if you choose not to operate within those boundaries, the consequences are already there. It's already been established. I'm not trying to force you into my frame. It's giving you the freedom to make your choice and respecting your decision that you make based off of your actions. It's not what you say, it's what they do. So if their action says otherwise, I'm not trying to hold you here. I'm not trying to keep you in something that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, you did a tweet. You when I actually retweeted it, you were talking about there's two types of frame, right? So when you say frame, are you talking about identity or are you talking about strategy? Can you give me a little overview of what you were talking about in that tweet?
All right, so I mean, you have two type of frame. I mean, like in the original tweet that you're mentioning, I suppose is the ontological frame and the procedural frame. But let's make it more, I would say, palatable for the average audience. Right? Is think about the meta frame, top down, upstream, right, and the micro frame. When you're like, let's say, what originally the concept of frame, at least where I understood it, was coming from the PUA world, where the frame of the interaction, who leads the interaction per se, right? So this is a micro frame. But a lot of time, and what happened with a lot of PUAs, again, to relationships, and even though they mastered the micro frame and everything, because they lacked the macro frame, they couldn't hold to those relationships. The woman realized that the guys were just empty suits. We didn't have that macro frame because the micro frame, which was very much tactical driven, or what you would say frame control, was there to hide the fact that they were just approval seeking of women because they didn't have a mental point of origin. So the macro frame covers that area, and this led me to write before, and that was kind of very controversial take, is that genuine frame doesn't make you more successful with women necessarily. It depends, because each and every one of us has a frame. Who are you? What do you want? What will you tolerate? What are you aiming for? Already by just segmenting what you'll tolerate, you're talking about the boundaries earlier, Glenn, right? You are segmenting out women, right? Sometimes you'll increase the amount of women you'll have because some women prefer that the guy that has got strong boundaries, not necessarily, but making it sound like frame is let's say the name of the game every time in order to get women. Well, first of all, makes it no sense, because it's just if it's just some type of cover to be the approval seeker of women, then it's not frame. It's just a dancing monkey under a different hat.
Yeah, it's like okay, if there's no boundary to entry, right? If there's no standard for entry, then you're just saying anybody could be in your life. Anybody could, be in your world, and you'll just take any woman. Like, you don't have standards or, expectations that you're enforcing. And that's not frame. That's just living by what everybody else's appeasement is.
I mean, like, I had, it's like some people said to me, it's like, well, you need to have frame, you'll have more success with women. I'm like, nigga, it's like I was a chameleon, as frameless as possible, because I just wanted to get to the outcome, and I was successful as F, right? I was and then I was like, well, actually, I don't really like that, and then by nature it was like a funnel. I started to basically have less positive outcome, not because I didn't have frame per se, but I preferred certain things where I liked it. Like before I would stay in the
you weren't willing to compromise on what you wanted for just some ass, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And and that was my frame, right? But then there's a lot of misunderstanding, because there's the PUA collapses the micro frame or the meta frame, and some guys also just think that frame is everything about your identity, but it's also misunderstanding the microstructure of interactions, where they give away the frame by, let's say, being reactive, or they give away the frame by just always being the one the conversation.
Can you give an example of that, like somebody that might give away their frame for a validation seeking, right?
I would say, like, any guy that is like appealing to a woman to get there in a relationship, like, because he's trying to placate to her. Look at me, I'll be a good boyfriend, or I'll be a good husband, right? That right there, he is giving over frame control. He's appealing to her, as instead of her appealing to him, like qualifying to him why she should be his woman, he is qualifying to her like why I should be your man.
And wouldn't you say that actually is the reason why a lot of men have an illusion of control, when in actuality they're in her frame and she's just throwing little cookies, so he feels like, oh, look, I'm actually in control, but really she's the one controlling it? Can you give like an example of how that would happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, and just to talk about the frame control, at the very beginning, let's say you keep the frame to the frame control, and she buys into it, but then she realizes that the vision she has of you matters, Therefore, she'll pretend that you have the frame, that you don't have the frame. And generally, the most often situation you find in relationship is dead bedrooms. Dead bedrooms. Why? Because it's like there's no incentive for the woman to
Exactly.
give
That's
herself
why-
up. Yeah.
That's what
Just
I
go on a
say all
date
the
by
time.
yourself. Leave her at home. Like, I mean, that's gonna make her feel bad. Like, don't you guys know that it's game?
Play nice.
I'm just saying. I just heard that recently.
So my
Dying.
next question is, where is the line between like collaboration and approval seeking? Like, where do you draw that line? Because it is like a very good question. And when you think about it, men are going to always, to a point, do things that she's going to want. So where do you draw that line?
Well, first of all, you're in a relationship with someone because I guess you have enough, similarities upon your view of the world, the view of life. So therefore, it's not really approval seeking if it's commonly shared. Say, for example, she says, "Oh, I want to do this." And it's like, "Oh, shit, I didn't lead, so therefore I don't have the frame." Like, no, it's like you also want to do that. So it's kind of like you're not really approval seeking. It's just there are parallel motives for the both of you, right? So that's the first thing. But say, for example,
so what you're saying, just to clarify, it's basically doing what is for the betterment of the group. It's not just for her. It's because it's going to better you as well. Correct?
Yeah, it's because you both have a vested interest in it. You want, let's say you're with your husband and he says, "Oh, you're saying I want to go to the Italian restaurant this evening," and he loves Italian food. It's all right, cool. Let's go. Let's grab a bite there. But he likes the Italian restaurant, so he's not trying to pander to you. It's like, but you suggested it. So
both of you, it's a win-win.
That's my husband's favorite, is Italian restaurant. You're so good, French. Good job.
Maybe it's my psychic abilities. I don't know.
It was definitely a psychic ability.
So when we hear these guys talking about like, oh, you have to control the frame, the way they make it seem, it's like they have to control her responses by either like enforcing like some type of like discipline, all right, or withdrawing their money, energy, attention, or time, because that's basically what I said, the only thing you guys could do in a marriage other than divorce, right? Once tell me where a lot of these guys get it wrong in if, let's say, they're in a dead bedroom, right, and they're like, okay, I need to get the control of this frame. Where do they go wrong? Because to me, the way I see it, they go wrong is like they tend to do things, they shift course. Basically, they were doing this and they're going down this way, and then things were working until she didn't like it anymore. Instead of keeping going down this path, they're now detouring the route a little bit in hopes to get her to kind of get back on. And in doing so, you're not in their frame. At that point, to me, you are in their frame, appealing to them. So where do they get this idea wrong of frame control?
Well, it's interesting. So what you just described is she's a compass. He's not the compass. And, that's something you learn in seduction, right? Like when you deal with women, especially where they're, when they're hard and shit, is they'll create more tension. They'll create more uncertainty. It's to see whether or not you can be moved, right? So when she can be doing that as a test, when she be like, "Oh, he's actually got a bit of a backbone type of stuff. Let me pull back a little bit and stuff," right? And then the guy, what he does is like, and that really shows whether or not he was real in his intent. He veers to the girl, basically saying, "Oh, he's full of shit." And it's and every time you veer off course, it's harder and harder to get back onto the course. But I hate the expression, "Oh, you have to control the frame." Look, if you have to control something, it's because you don't have it. It's like
you need to control your frame.
Exactly.
She is choosing to either live in your frame or not in your frame, and you could try to manipulate behavior to get her to stay in your frame, but then now you're in a way you're negotiating, or you're trying to play mental games to keep them somewhere where they obviously, or their actions are showing you they don't want to be in. So why do you want somebody in your frame that doesn't really want to be there?
You don't. And to answer the original question, which was, where did they go wrong? Like for me, here, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to do some plugging, right? I have an upcoming course that explains the dynamic within inside a relationship as to where authority leaks, right? At first, you have 3 layers, right? The first one is inspiration. It's like you embody everything that makes you worthy of a leader, right? So let's say stuff like self-love, self-esteem, self-acceptance and courage, leadership, respect, personal purpose and power. All of those are things that basically makes her feel, quote unquote, safe with you, that you can lead, right? But every time that you leak from it, every time that you leak stuff that you don't embody that, there'll be doubts in her, right? So that's part of your responsibility. But your responsibility is only towards yourself, right? Then there'll be more conflicts when you leak that authority, because she's not certain, right? It's not necessarily shit test. Sometimes they'll just be over some petty little shit, petty little stuff. But here it's about conflict management. The idea is that she's still of good faith, because you're still inspired good faith, but there are some areas of doubt. This is not for you to use any type of dread or whatsoever. It's really about managing the conflict in a way that she doesn't feel belittled, and she feels empowered into choosing what she wants to choose, and that's about you. And then the third one is when the respect has been eroded to such an amount, still recoverable, where you can use a little bit of dread for her to regain that respect, because the scarcity that you've shown, the scarcity that you've not shown in the behavior that you have, has made her believe that you're submissive. So it's for you to basically recenter yourself, not make it about her, and just regain all of those metrics from the first layer to reinstill that desire. But that desire is not your responsibility, it's her responsibility. Your responsibility is living up and owning up to yourself.
So
No, I
once
agree.
again, it does come down to it's a mutual thing, like that's why I had that dispute or debate, because I keep saying that with female sexuality, they have to be the one initiating. It cannot be one-sided.
I mean, imagine yourself in bed, like it's always the husband be like, it's like you're on the side, it's like, no, she's got to basically move those butt cheeks, just like, hello.
Oh goodness. Okay, so I want to get into emotional blackmail, right? Because like you'll hear women do like, well, if he loves me, he would, right? You hear this kind of stuff. So that's really emotional blackmail, right? Wouldn't you agree? Like when women do that.
What do you mean,
thing? Like when she's like, oh, if he loves me, if a man loves you, he would do this, XYZ, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. That's emotional blackmail.
Basically, they try to use fear, right?
It's fear. It's fear of what I really want to because I've never heard that expression, emotional blackmail, but I'm integrating it right now. It's fear.
Okay, so like, well, if he really loved me, he would just know not to invite that person over. They know that he knows that they pissed me off. He must not really love me because he invited that.
No, correct.
Yeah, he should just be a mind reader.
Oh yeah. They expect to be a psychic. I mean, look. I by the way, ladies, I really guessed Gia's husband preference on the food. I didn't have any knowledge whatsoever. But guys are not like that. They're not like that most of the time. They're miles away from this. Why? Because they don't really care about women, right? So the going back onto this, it's important for a guy to actually be interested in what his woman or resonate with, right? Like that's fair enough to say. But understanding whatever the roller coaster of emotion is at every point in time, it's like, look, if he was that good, he'd basically be a multimillionaire stock trader because he can feel the market. But your volatility of emotion is worse than bloody, let's say, I don't know, like some options.
We cannot read your mind, ladies. Okay, yeah, we can't read your mind.
I know you coach guys, like you help them kind of detect these kind of things. What's some things that she might say, sentences or speech patterns that she might say that would indicate that she wants control and not connection?
She plays ambiguity games. What do I mean by that? Either she use overt tactics to make the person jealous, in the sense of
Mm.
triangulation, for example. That's kind of like she's always seeking power. She never wants. It's one thing to keep a little bit of mystery, just to kind of like foster a little bit of desire, right?
I need your Instagram password.
I need your Instagram password. For what?
That's
purpose?
control. That's like
No,
that's
he's
like her,
giving an example. Yeah.
Yeah.
like a woman trying to like take control. Like
Mhm.
if you want me to trust you, you need to give me your Instagram password. No, bitch.
It's like, no, but that's the thing. It's like, why does she ask this? It's because either she's had a bad history in the past, and it could be the same thing for you. It's like, give me your phone password or Instagram password and everything, but your baggage is not my problem.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, don't put your mistake of the past onto me, because you're gonna manifest the failure of the past onto you.
To me, it's like, why am I paying the consequence for somebody else's crime, and I didn't even commit the crime?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what thing is, it's like, it's
You think like guys just they're not very witty and able to take these shit tests and head it head on. Like when these girls come with stuff like that, like give me your Instagram password, or I think you should know, or like they throw these little shit tests. You think that it's a failure of how they address it immediately, and that these problems just kind of start snowballing, and that's where she loses that respect?
I mean, it does have, like, generally, it's, yeah, you said the right word, snowballing. Problem is, guys think too much like literal, objective, because when we communicate to convey information, right? As guys.
Well, guys are trying to like constantly like satisfy that woman's need of security. So they're like, oh, if I just give her my Instagram password, then I mean, I don't want to really do it, but like if I do, it'll provide her that sense of security, and it's a chipping away time over time, and it's like, it goes from like,
so they're walking on eggshells all the time in fear.
Well, they don't even realize, like,
upset.
well, they're giving concessions of their independence to her appeasement, right? Every single time they cave in, it's like, well, I don't want you to go out with your friends. I don't like that friend AJ, the guy with the beard, goes by Texas Viking Detailer. He's a short, bald-headed guy with a beard. That's AJ in the chat. No one's talking about you. It was the other day, the short, bald guy. But it's like, oh, and if you could concede to that, you're like, okay, and you call things off with your buddy AJ just to appease her. You are slowly giving over that control time and time again.
But because guys are a lot of time conflict avoidance, they want to buy peace. But the more and more you buy peace, the more you invite war.
So that's so strange, because naturally it's a feature in a woman to be conflict avoidant. Like that's a natural thing for women. So where is this? Are men just becoming more and more like this now, or has this always been the case?
It has to do with the scarcity mindset, wouldn't you say, French?
There's a bit of that, but it's more, I think, the main issue, and that kind of goes back to the frame question, is a lot of guys don't even know what they stand for. They don't even know. So it's like, you're giving me it's like you're doing my head, and I'll just say yes to that. It's kind of like you're at the police station, and they want you to admit to something, and it's like, like, admit to a crime. You've not done the crime, but after like they've been pouncing on you,
you're like, yes, I did it. Fine, whatever. Just if it's gonna shut you up, yeah.
It's like, okay, can I go back home now? It's like, no, you're in custody, nigga. It's
like you're done. You're locked up. You just admitted guilt. You got
there's a bit of that. There's also a bit like there are some guys as well that are, you didn't say it, but I'll say it, a bit feminine because they're afraid of conflict. And that basically makes the woman even lose more interest. And that's kind of like him on the ownership to take. It's like, look, know what you stand for. And on the wit, it's like, understand why is the subcom, why is the matter of what she's saying, why is the frame, not rather than just what it is. It's like going back onto the Instagram stuff. Instagram,
and it kind of like, wouldn't you say it's like it kind of shows like who needs the relationship more? Yeah. In the sense, like it's like if he keeps on conceding and giving like concessions to her over trivial things that he doesn't need to, right? But he's doing it just to keep her legs open or keep her available to him. Then he's displaying that he needs the relationship more than she does.
No, but at the end of the day, it's like what you'll find as well. A lot of time, women will look at power dynamics way more than guys, way more than guys. Well, because the fairer sex need to have a level of influence, intangible, that reassure them. Although what it does is that it destroys a polarity, then destroy desire and destroys a couple. So it's like there's two type of safety, right? The safety that the guy can inspire her, and that's sometimes by saying no, and that's her respecting the authority, which is not necessarily a guarantee because you can do everything right, but if the girl cannot respect the authority, well, it's not really your problem, it's hers. That's the first level of safety. And then what you have is a woman will try to do aggressive buying of that safety by setting a rule, by having her frame. But then what happens is that there's a gap and there's no polarity, that she naturally attracts more feminine driven guys. And at first is great, but because she doesn't feel feminine, there's a cognitive dissonance, and it makes her resent the guy and drop the guy because he does not fit his role. And that's completely unconscious.
And then, unfortunately, these are the same women that end up saying all men are trash, right? Because they gravitate toward that one dynamic.
Exactly. It's like, look, you go, it's like you're a woman that is, let's say boss babe and all this and all that, right? You're like, she started doing that shit to me. I'll be like, I mean, either I'll have a laugh, because I just like to have a good laugh. I'll pretend to agree with her, whatever, but I'm not going to take her seriously. And and it's like she won't think that I'm that strong masculine man whatsoever. I don't need to prove myself to you. Like, fuck off, Like
I always love them. Look at you trying to make decisions and shit. Look at you trying to make rules. That's cute. Better go sit down.
or as my husband will be like, no, you better fix yourself.
Oh yeah, no, it's like, no, but it's like I like to be absurd, and it's like, and then you'd be like, oh, sorry. I remember there was like this woman, say alpha female and everything, and I was like, well, that was very nice. I'll leave the bill to you,
What cracks me up was when they go, I'm a high value woman. I was like, no, you're not. You're just a woman. A high value woman is a woman that a high value man chooses to invest in. All right. It's his value that makes you valuable. Right. So you don't got that high value on your own.
But even this, for example, is a perfect example of completely of no frame. It's like if you have to say it, you're not it because you cannot demonstrate it. By the way, the alpha woman was actually looking exactly like you in a way, because she no, she was about my age, but she was like one of those gym girls, and let's say she was well chested. I was like, and I was like, I'm trying to be diplomatic, right? But
basically what he was saying,
she had none of the energy.
Fitness girl.
Basically, what you were saying was that she had
Oh yeah, right, bitch. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, but she had complete opposite energy of Gia. And that matters. You don't really feel that when you're in your 20s and everything, where you just have more buzz than sense, but when you get older, it's like that energy field is like, it's real. It's fucking real. Like, I thought it was woo-woo stuff, but yeah, I mean,
it's like basically we're getting to the point where like the guy that can't tell the woman no without a fear of her leaving, and having that scarcity mindset of like, if I say this, then she's gonna leave me. If you're more concerned about her leaving you than you standing on what you believe is right and what you believe is true for you, then you don't have frame.
And how can she feel safe? Because
exactly.
She doesn't trust herself. So if she doesn't trust herself,
she needed someone like you to lead her. You're supposed to help enforce these boundaries and keep her safe. Yeah. And you just proven to her that you're just as unsafe as she is.
And that's not
this leads into the perfect next thing as sex is leverage, because I hear this a lot, right? Women will be like, well, I need to feel safe to, even be turned on or, want to have
We all
sex,
know that's
right?
not true.
That. But we also know that those same women are cool with casual sex and doing very, very unsafe things with themselves. So
spring break.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's get into that. Let's I want to hear French's opinion on that. When women say stuff like that, well, I need to be safe or I need to feel safe. We do know that there is an element to that that is true in their perception, but we also know that they do the contrary. So their actions don't align with those words.
All right, so like that's part of my PUA days, right? So it's I think of seduction between attraction and comfort, right? And I'll use monikers not because just for illustration purposes, not necessarily because I really love them, but it's just make things easier. So on the one end, you have attraction, right? Which is basically think of the alpha guy, whatever, fuck boy, bad boy, blah, 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 right? And on the other end, you have the golden retriever, beta boy energy type of stuff. If you go on the attraction, a lot of time you'll, on the very high end of the spectrum, you'll attract a lot of time short-term fun, because that's what they're really driven by, right? But it will be harder for her to feel safe for a relationship, right? But at the same time, if you're giving too much golden retriever energy, it's like, yeah, you're safe, but it's like, you know what, Ted, let's get married in 10 years. So, it's after I've been ranted by everyone else, but like and the reality is that she needs to feel a certain degree of safety to be within a relationship, because she cannot always feel anxious to death that you're going to cheat on her, that you're going to do all that stuff and all that stuff, right? So it's a bit of a balance, right? But it's better to be high on the attraction, not necessarily that high, rather than be too much on the comfort, because it's harder to pull you back within the attraction side of the spectrum. When a girl says she needs to feel safe with you, like let's say in seduction, that means, look, I'm not that, you don't make me that way, it's pretty dry down there, but let's say, you work hard a little bit, go on them fields and, like cut some grass, but, and then maybe I'll just reward you with sex, right? That's the thing. But there's no genuine attraction. And if it's within a relationship, there are two ways of saying safety, right? It's like, I don't feel safe because you're let's say you're not man enough, right? But man enough in the sense of what we were discussing about, just being able to say no, being able to embody frame, for example. And there's not feeling safe and using that as a tool with the bucket list of the thing that you have to do as shore play in order for her to grant you and reward you with sex, right? And when it comes to rewarding with sex, say, for example, it's like you don't want to enter power games, right? Power games are really, it's like you want to have good faith, right? Which is, I think, what we were originally arguing on the tweet stuff, right? Which is power games only enter when there's bad faith. So if you can avoid that, great. But sometimes, very much when it's at the tail end of what you can do, that's the nuclear option.
So, with those power games, right? How do you know the difference between somebody doing a power game for control in sex versus like a healthy safety version? Like, how do you know how does a man navigate? How is he going to be able to tell the difference?
Does she want to cooperate? Like, I use an example, but that's not even, and those are kind of like signals before the sex, right?
Yeah.
Like, say, for example, she complains that you're not communicative, right? And you'll open up a bit in the sense of, all right, well, tell me more. I want to hear more, for example. And then she continue on blaming on you. She's not looking to build something. She's looking to blame and blame and blame.
She's looking for information to disqualify you with.
So this is what we actually did a tweet on the transparency thing. And I think that this has to do with it, right? So this is where I was saying neediness. There's a difference between neediness and full disclosure. You definitely don't want to be needy. You definitely don't want to be vulnerable.
Don't be vulnerable.
Emotions are something that men share within sex, right? It's not something that they open up and communicate like women. They're different on that. So I think that's where we were going back and forth. But I think what I was trying to get at was that honesty is important, but full disclosure there's a distinction between honesty and full disclosure.
All right, what's the distinction?
Especially in the dating.
Dating phase,
right? So what I was referring to is in marriage, honesty is important.
Mhm.
Full disclosure is not necessarily important.
Mhm. Yeah, because the thing
There's
is,
a
it's
time
like
and place. Mhm.
yeah, well, that's there's a time and place, and it's like
Mhm.
there are things that are gonna hurt your the polarity, right? And they are not necessary. It's not that you're omitting and lying by omission. It's just there's no point saying it, so don't say it, right? And it's great that you touch on the vulnerability side of things, right? Because a lot of time you, women will say, oh, be vulnerable, do this, do that, right? And then you'll have the guy that basically take it as face value, like, yeah, I'm gonna be
And
vulnerable.
then she goes, you're not the man that I thought you were.
It's like, and then you have like you have the Mario sound, like game over. It's like, but
Do
then
you have that sound? Let's
Just
see.
like you just like, how did you answer that question? You answered it.
I love that one.
Yeah.
It's like, nope.
No, it's like,
So
like if you look at the word vulnerable, like to be vulnerable, what does that mean? Right? That means like you are exposing your weak point. You're giving away like where the kink in your armor is not strong. This is where they can hit you at. That's not smart.
But let's segment already what vulnerable is, because like some people will think vulnerable, oh, I can cry in front of my woman. Some people will think vulnerable is, let me just basically share that I care about that woman, right? But let's just use that example, right? Care about, like let's say to the girl that you're with or the girl that you marry and everything, they say, oh, I care about you, I care for you, etc. And then they feel, okay, great, I know that I have this hold on him, let me weaponize that, because then he cares more than I care about him, therefore I'm going to gain more leverage from that knowledge that I gave. That is in and of itself is actually showing vulnerability from an emotional standpoint, even though it makes total sense. You're in a bloody relationship, you must care to some extent to that person, so it's like, and even if you think about being vulnerable, like say for example you're like you had some bad experience in your life that you overcome, that you processed, and you lead with that vulnerability, not necessarily because you seek sympathy whatsoever, but just that you want her to understand where you're coming from. That in itself is very secure, but women will see that as insecurity, because they feel, oh, there's that chink in the armor and everything. It's not a chink in the armor, but it's just because you're coming from a place of high security that most women don't. Therefore, you're operating at different level of frequency. So even if you're secure, they don't operate on the same level. So don't do it unless. And the only time that I say you can show a little bit of vulnerability is if you have like a lot of masculine credits per se. Again, just kind of for illustration perspective, and you show that you're a bit more human. And that you're not that, that's
well, like it's like your vulnerability should not take away from the overall like picture of you in their eyes.
Yeah,
like it should not diminish like who you are in their eyes.
For the guys listening, can you give an example of something that you wouldn't want to do in the dating phase? That would be an example of being vulnerable, and that might come back to bite you.
Full disclosure.
Like, give an example. Like,
all right. Just say, for example, oh well, my ex-girlfriend cheated on me. She was a real bitch. But no, maybe not. Don't say that. But like, cheated on you. So basically, the girl be like, oh, is the girl cheating on you? That means that basically she had all her reasons. The first thing she will be that she knows that she'll back the girl's point of view. Not like she won't think that woman.
It'll be like, oh, he did something wrong that gave her a reason to cheat on him.
Exactly. And you can explain yourself, and not explain yourself, but explain the situation all in all and everything, but she will still revert sisterhood type of shit, right? And it's like, there's no point.
Or if you say something like, this girl accused me of this, like you wouldn't want to say something like that because she's automatically going to take the girl's side of things.
Yes,
correct.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So those type of stuff is like, but again, if you can be a bit like, I don't have a clean past, right? I'll sound like a bloody post-wall hole, but the point I'm saying is, it's like you can use vulnerability as well as a way to lower the girl's defenses, in terms of, especially in that low trust environment. I can say that I've just had my CT scan, so I'm clear of all cancer. But I said, So, it's like, oh, I just overcome cancer when I was in my late 20s and everything. Oh my God, really? And everything. And then basically it opened the floodgates of all the shit that I want to know from her, because it's like you can lead with that, but you overcome it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, great. So there's, again, it's not as unidimensional if you know how to frame something and put it positively, especially early in the dating phase, that can actually gain you some trust points.
What about
Yeah, you can even use it as like part of your boundaries.
Sorry?
Like, you could even frame it as this is part of your boundary system, right?
I don't like to lead with boundaries. Boundaries not
like let's say like, okay, let's say like, okay, you don't want like okay, you know how Jonah Hill did it really bad? Like he waited till after 6 months or like 9 months into the relationship, whatever. Then he started telling her all these things that he like that. So if he would have established those boundaries, even though those are insecurities or issues for him, and he was probably vulnerable in those areas, if he would have just said like, this is who, if I'm going to be in a relationship with somebody, these are the boundaries that they're going to be operating in. Like if he said that from the onset, that doesn't come off as weak. The fact that he did it after she got him in the relationship and he got her locked in and comfortable, and then he tried to enforce it looked weak. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, but see, if he would establish that from the jump, like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I expect in my relationship, bam, right there, she has the opportunity to leave or stay. But the fact that you did it afterwards, that's where it comes off weak.
Yeah, and it's weak, and it's like, and again, it's also a matter of delivery, because a lot of times they'll tell you it's ultimatum, and they could make, depending on how you frame it, but it's key. Like for example, whenever, and boundaries is kind of like something in the background, not something that is supposed to be seductive, right? So whenever I hear a woman be like, oh, these are my boundaries. This. I'm just like, hey, chill. Look, it's I don't like. Before we talk about the terms and conditions, what about the benefits and features? And it's like, it's like, tell me, it's like you've got fucking past trauma that you're not processed. It's like, hello, So boundaries is good to have, but it's like it's about. Like say for example, you're early in a relationship and she starts throwing thirst trap, on her IG, and you're like, hey, look, I'm not your fucking, PR guy. It's like, I don't deal with girls like this. Done. That's kind of like you set your boundaries straight from the get-go, but just because the situation arises, you're not trying to control the relationship before you arrive. It's just as things,
Well, yeah, it's like when they ask you, like, so what are we? Like, we just chilling. Well, why are we like serious? I don't, get in relationships with girls that post thirst traps, right? Like the behavior happened. You have established this, like this is not wanted, and now she knows where the boundary is.
Because I say this all the time: if a guy lets her, because what usually happens is sex happens, and then she's the one, she's moving in, she's already establishing these are my boundaries before he's even able to say, listen, no, I'm not getting involved in this committed relationship because XYZ. And I think guys make this mistake they enter into these committed relationships without saying, I'm not going to tolerate this stuff. Like, okay, for instance, when I was talking about the transparency and the full disclosure, I think in a committed relationship, if you come in and you unload everything that's been going on in your day to her, that's to me full disclosure, and you're going to kill desire immediately when you start doing that. There's
only one type of unloading that's acceptable, and that's not that one.
Correct. So tell me, like, give a little bit. So give me what you would consider a full disclosure, or not to do full disclosure. Other than that,
just thing is, it's like women will want to emotional dump on you after a shit day at work, right? You don't do that as a guy because you have self-regulation. Right, it's like sometimes you can say a little bit. For example, she tells you what's wrong, and so just stuff at work, right?
Bad day.
And it's like, and then it's like if she really wants to, you'll just give her just enough, right? But it really depends upon how much can she carry that burden, because you don't want to overload, even if she has that capacity, right? Full disclosure means that you tell them all of your insecurities, or you tell them your doubts. It's like if you doubt yourself, how the fuck
Yeah, like
I'll tell you.
the car, I got in a wreck and then I couldn't change the tire. And like, this is the type of stuff that you don't need to be saying. Like, don't say
Exactly.
any of that. Like it's better just to be like, listen, I had a bad day at work. I'm cool. I got it. And if she keeps pushing, no, listen, I told you, I'll handle it. Enough, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you convey, it's like certainty, confidence is conveyed through those little things in everyday life.
Like the general doesn't go to the E1 enlisted, person and tell them their general problems, because then if you hear all the general problem, now you're gonna be questioning whether or not you should follow his command. Like, oh, he's questioning his capability here. I don't really think he might be a good leader for me to follow. Right? It's like bitching goes up, never down. So as soon as you start bitching about like what you're dealing with, or what your problems are with, now you have given her reason to question your competency in your ability to lead.
Yeah, no, but exactly. I mean, or even either a mentor or lateral, right? But never downwards, never downwards. It's otherwise it's like you're inviting bullshit. It's like if you don't, guys have a lot of bullshit in their life and they find a way to invite more. It's like no,
Exactly.
So how would you? Okay, what are some actionable advice, like some nuggets here, guys could take that they could actually be in control of their world without being controlling, without because we know controlling will kill the intimacy. So how can these guys learn to be in control
within a relationship?
Yeah, within a relationship without being controlling.
Well, it's like, well, let's say for example, you create space. Already creating space is basically like you have your own fucking life, because the problem is in relationship is there's too much abundance of the other person. Too much abundance, content, familiarity, lower value, etc., etc., etc. So run your life as if you were basically single, and then you just come back home. I mean, not completely, and then you come back home. Then you come back home, and and she can actually feel that, like that miss, right? But don't seek her to be your nanny, to be your mother, and incur emotional labor on her, because then that'll create resentment, right? But live your life with your hobbies, with your passion, with everything that you do, with your work, with your purpose, so that this basically you have your shit together, right? It doesn't even need to be financially, but just mentally, right? You compartmentalize.
It's also like not walking on eggshells. So I think like how you move about your day to day, it shouldn't be always placating to, hey, is it okay if I do this? No, move. As you said, like you were single, make decisions. Don't walk on eggshells. If you need to say something, say it.
Yeah, and it's like, and you need to be able to carry tension. You need to be. It's a bit. It's funny because it's a bit like trading, right? It's like you're gonna be you. I don't know. I mean, you're a businesswoman. I'm sure you invest, right? You're American. You invest. It's like, let's say you buy a stock. You buy a stock, and it does a rally, and you're good. It's like 20% up, and then it goes from $0 to $20, and then nothing changed from the fundamentals, right? But the stock goes to $5, and you're like, oh, can I cash out for $5, or can I, or do I leave it because I believed in it, right? And guys, after when there's a conflict, they say at $5, they'll be like, they'll give in. They'll be like, no, I want to secure the profit because I cannot bear that tension. I cannot bear that belief in the stock that I had. And a lot of time, the problem with people in relationship is they caved in at that $5 mark because they don't believe strongly enough either in themselves or either in the other person to continue that relationship. And it's about the ability to carry tension. And that's something that, in order for you to control, to control the relationship. When I mean control, I mean to be in control. Sorry, is
manage.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be in control of yourself. If she feels you cannot control yourself,
it all comes down to self-control. Absolutely.
And see, like that's really what it comes down to, is like knowing what you're in control of. You're not in control of anybody else's decision. You can't control the choices that they make or that they want to make. Only thing you can control is whether or not you are going to allow them in your life or allow them to have access to you after their decisions. Like that's it. That's all you can control. And as long as you realize that.
how
That's
many
it.
men that I've had conversations with where she did something that he didn't like, and instead of just saying, "Listen, I'm not going to tolerate this," and move forward and continue to do better as a man, not worrying about outside things, all he did was harp on what she was doing wrong. And then he went online and then he created these long Bible text messages about what she's doing wrong. Then he went to every friend, everybody, even her mother,
That sounds
even
like a
the
woman.
father, got on the phone, complained about what she's doing. And even when she moved on and left, he was still talking about her, and like, I can't tell you, like, I say it over and over. If control what is within your control. If she's not in your control. So don't worry about what she's doing. Worry about what you're doing, become better, get yourself in the gym, get better with your finances. And she is going to notice that. Don't focus on her.
He sounded like a guy with a.
His penis is tiny. Tiny.
I'm just saying, because like, I mean, if you're like, at the end of the day, guys, like, you have to live your life knowing that, like, your life is good whether she's in it or without it. Like, she could add value to your life, but she is not your life. Don't make her your life. Like, your life was fine. This is what I tell guys, like, before you even get in relationships, you have to make sure that woman is more attractive than your solitude. You should love your solitude more than, this desire to be with the woman. She has to add value to your life. Like, if she's not an asset, if she's going to be a liability, and if you make her like the prize, then you already lost the game. Like, you didn't ever had it to begin with. And you have to be competent and say, like, okay, or comfortable with saying, like, you know what, if I say no, she may leave, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, that's where the control comes down to. Because if you don't have that, and then you're always placating to her needs, you're always placating to her her satisfaction, and you're never going to win that game.
Well, and then to cope, he tries to control more because that gives him the illusion of control. So it's kind of like a cycle. It's a circular.
Well, it's a covert contract. If I do this, she's going to give me control.
Yeah. So French, tell the viewers where to find you. What's your page? Where can they go find you?
Well, I've got a few things. I've got a Twitter page, so French at French OG3 on X. I have a
yeah, I'll grab it right now.
All right.
Cool.
So there's also French og78.substack.com for all my long forms, etc. I also opened up a TikTok, but this time it's a little bit for the woman, right? Hey, look,
Oh.
No, I look like a road man like that. But it's beanie, puffer jacket, South Londoner type. I also have a YouTube channel, which is the Double G's podcast. And also, and I've got a website if you want to reach out to me for consultation or for coaching, because I do coach guys on all of this. And if you're interested in more stuff that is deeper, I'll be releasing a course on the subject that we discuss for people that have trouble getting into relationship, even though they can get women, or for people that want to maintain the polarity within inside their relationship and deal with some of the challenges that comes with it.
That's really good, because you can get a girl really easy, but keeping her around is a whole nother skill set. So I'm going to throw all your links down to the description.
Yeah, I already have all the links are in the chat right now. So I already posted the links in the chat, so anybody can follow him on X.
Thank you, French. I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope that we can do this again in person.
Oh, 100%. And look, I have many people I need to see in Florida, and I'm tired of the shitty London weather, so I'm more than welcome to Florida.
Well, French, at the end of the day, you just can't be.
You're ugly. You are disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Who's that voice?
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Oh, Dr. Phil. At one point, I thought it was Trump or something. I was like, what?
All right, guys. Until next time.